Hello, everyone. I'm Harjit and I'm part of the Windows commercial team at Microsoft. Welcome to Tackling Tech. Get ready for an information filled show where we are going to cover how you can manage the vast information highway to stay current on documentation, technical learning, the how to's, valuable and timely information, and all of this from Microsoft. I have two very important people and my friends from Microsoft to help discuss and share all of these awesome resources with you. Welcome, Mabel and Aaron.
Hello. Good to be here.
Mabel, first, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I work on the Windows Updates team. I manage the Windows Release Health sites. We have two versions of the website, one public, one authenticated. And I manage how to evolve these tools, how we can build new features to help IT admins to have a easier access to the content, how improve the content, how make our content be published faster. And I also work on the day-to-day management of this content, looking if we need to update a known issue, if an issue is confirmed, so we can document it there, and plan the reminders, the announcements. We have a lot of messages about deprecation, end of servicing, end of support. So I do both fronts of the management of the site, the day-to-day content and also the evolution of those websites, tools to help IT admins to keep informed about Windows updates.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. And we're going to go through all of the things that you do. So this is awesome to have you here. Thank you. So, Aaron, thanks for joining us. I've heard from people here at Microsoft refer to you as the Windows Docs guy, right? And so, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your team and the role that you play?
Yeah, sure. I manage a team of writers, of technical writers that work on docs for Windows Client. And it's kind of twofold. One is the technical content for IT pros on learn.microsoft.com. And then also manage some vendors who support the content for end users and consumers on support.microsoft.com. So really all things Windows, but specifically from a client perspective, there's obviously a lot of components to Windows, including server and IoT and app development. Those are handled by other teams. So my team, we really just focus on the client.
On the Windows client itself, Windows
Yeah,
11.
yeah. Which in itself, there's a lot to that. It's pretty complex, and a lot of that, it touches on a lot of different spaces and feeds into a lot of different areas. But yeah, anything Windows client from a documentation perspective, that's my team.
That's you.
Yeah.
Right? And it is true though. You are literally known as a docs guy. Like even externally, when I was a Microsoft MVP, and every time someone mentions docs or needs something updated or whatever, Aaron, contact Aaron.
It's been a brand work in progress. I guess it's good to hear that's landing. Had a number of years in Config Manager and Intune space, and about a year ago or so moved over into Windows. Looking forward. There's so much work to do in the Windows space. So it's a lot of fun.
I see a custom T-shirt coming. The docs guy or something like that. Anyways,
always room for some good custom T-shirts, right?
Yeah, always stickers and everything.
Yeah, stickers, right?
So Mabel, back to you. So let's start off by talking about Windows Release Health. I understand there are two experiences, right? One on Microsoft Learn, and the other one, Microsoft 365 Admin Center. What are the differences of the two?
Yeah, they both have some similarities. One is that both are a one-stop shop for Windows updates information. If you want to know about important milestones, known issues, safeguard holds, lifecycle information, you can go to both. But the difference is that the Microsoft 365 Admin Center version is a premium experience for enterprises enterprise customers. So we have more known issues there. We have more reminders. We have more features and more integration with all other Microsoft applications. So IT admins can use the public website on microsoftlearn.com. We document major issues there. We have reminders about end of support, end of servicing. But on the admin center, you have emails, you have integration with Microsoft Graph API, you have integration with Planner. So it's a premium experience with more content and more features.
Okay, right. So more granular stuff that you can do on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center
Exactly.
as an IT pro. So are these the same known issues that I've read about in the monthly release notes? And so what are the differences between these two resources?
Yeah, release notes are amazing. I'm a big fan. I work with the team that works in release notes, and we're always working very closely together. But the release notes is the inventory of content explaining everything that's shipped in an update, including fixes for issues and non-issues. But the thing is, some issues that Windows customers and Windows like IT admins are gonna face, they're not caused by the update shipped and the Windows release notes associated with that update. So, for instance, recently we documented an issue that was caused by a Defender update. So it wouldn't make sense to document this Defender kind of issue affecting Windows on the release notes for Windows updates.
True.
It would be in the release notes for Defender. Same thing, sometimes we ship a Windows update, has no issues, but has some compatibility with some change that antivirus brought up. So again, the antivirus partner is going to fix the issue, but it doesn't make sense to put in the release notes because it's not the release notes, it's not the Windows updates triggering that issue. So usually you document these issues on the Windows Release Health dashboard. We document both issues caused by Windows updates, but also not caused by Windows updates, but are affected. And sometimes there's confusion because an issue starts exactly on our patch Tuesday, and you need to inform our users, like, no, this is not caused by Windows update. It's been working by an OEM. We work closely. We are very
Right.
collaborative with all our partners, but we just don't want to put in release notes, so it's not in the inventory of issues there. So there's a little bit difference on both, but I recommend both channels.
Both channels, right. This is really exciting. So I read the announcement that Windows Release Health email alerts are now available in M365 Admin Center, right? Can you give us an overview of what the new alerts are all about, what's in them, how often they get sent, and that type of a thing?
Yeah, of course. We're very excited because there's a feedback customers gave to us. Like, we have the tool and it was there for them to check every patch Tuesday or every time they felt that something was off in their environment. But some customers gave the feedback. I want to be receiving email if issues very big and the scope is very large. And it makes sense. A lot of people don't want email, but also some customers want to receive emails about it. So we created a feature where people can opt in on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. They have to go to the Windows Release Health section, click in the preference, and say, I want to receive emails about known issues. So those emails are sent every time you document a known issue, and even
Mhm.
can be something very in the beginning of the process. Like, we receive reports from customers that after installing the 6B update, that's June security update, they are facing issues with Bluetooth. We're investigating. As soon as we have more information, let
Right.
you know. So we're going to send an email about that. As soon as you can confirm, say, yeah, our investigation, we were able to report the issue. It was caused by our June update. So it's confirmed. And every time you have a relevant information, oh, we have a workaround, you're going to receive email.
Oh, this is a lot of, yeah, it keeps you on your toes, right? It keeps you informed really, really quickly. Yeah, that's super helpful. How does one sign up for this?
Yes. So folks need to go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center with their admins accounts, and multiple admins have access, like Service Admin, Global Admin, Windows Admin. If you have the word admin, yeah, you're gonna have access, right? The enterprise customers with E3, E5 that have access to the Microsoft
Hmm.
365 Admin Center. So they go to the Windows Release Health page, click on Preferences, and there is a few checkups, like check I want to receive emails. You can sign up to 2 emails, including 2 distribution lists. If you want to say, I want my whole IT department to know about these issues,
Right.
you can add them, and you select each version you want. If you say, like, I just want to know about server issues, or I just want to know about Windows 11 issues, you select the versions you're interested. You can receive all of them or just one. And it's common that an issue affect multiple versions of Windows. So what we do is that you send one email and you say, this is the issue in the list of all the versions affected. And usually the email has the same exact content as you have in the dashboard. So you have like some symptoms, so help IT admins to identify. You have, if there is an error message or a code or a number, we share so you don't get confused with other issues. We add a workaround if available, and when it's resolved, you add the resolution text, and you have the link for the full text if you want to see more. So,
Okay.
should be very helpful.
Yeah, and I'm really, really glad that you mentioned that you would receive one email, even though you selected multiple versions of let's say, for example, Windows 11, right? If you selected 21 H2 or whatever 22 H2 or things like that, or Windows 10 or multiple versions of Windows 10, if an issue that we are documenting is affecting multiple versions of Windows that you have selected, you just get one email. You don't get flooded with emails. So that's
Yeah.
important to know. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So I noticed that, when you announce new features for Windows Release Health, you often encourage feedback. And based on the feedback that you've received so far today, where will Windows Release Health go next? What's the biggest areas of feedback that you're getting and investigating for future improvements? Only what you can share.
Yeah. We are investing on integrated the Windows Release Health, the known issues content, with the Microsoft Graph API. Today, just the message center, Windows Message Center, is connected to the Graph API, so folks can retrieve the information about our reminders, our announcements, and using their own dashboards in their organizations. But the known issue is not integrated yet. So that is the feedback we receive from customers. I want to be able to retrieve your known issues content and other content on your Windows Release Health tables and like all technical information, build number, KB number. We want to retrieve everything and build our own dashboard. So this is something you're going to invest next. And I also receive feedback from some customers saying, hey, I just want to receive like major issues. If you have something unexpected, like an out of band update, because I know Patch Tuesday, I know the non-security preview on the 4th weeks of the month, but I just want to know something out of the ordinary. So we are trying to evolve our email feature too, so folks can select specific situations where they want to receive the email. Just not maybe the version, but other circumstances. Oh, I just want to know about resolutions or just about the first symptoms. So you're going to research what are the improvements you can do with the emails as well.
Oh, perfect. So what role should Windows Release Health play in an organization's Patch Tuesday process, right? Is this the same for feature updates, or should we think differently? And how do we, as a tool to help prepare for those things?
I would say it's pretty similar because the health dashboard help you, the organizations should stay health, like with a healthy environment to keep trying to see where there are issues before install an update. You check the dashboard to see if there is something, you check the release notes, keep looking for reminders using your planner. So it help you to stay current, help you customers to stay protected and productive. So I would say for both, the same thing for feature updates. So if you have a safeguard hold and you're planning a rollout, you know, right? So
Yeah.
oh, there's a safeguard hold related to this application or to these processors. So I think it helps folks to plan better for applying quality updates and feature updates, but also help IT admins to respond better when you have a known issue or something not expected. So I would say the goal of the site is to help organizations to stay their environments healthy, current, protected. So I would say for both feature and quality updates, I think you have the same benefits for both scenarios.
Yeah. So this brings back a lot of memories. I was sysadmin for many, many years in higher ed, and I manage all the patches, servers and clients, and on a monthly basis. But I always had a system in place where I use social media a lot. I use
Mhm.
blogs a lot, RSS feeds and things like that. Very specific to patching, like to keep in the know about anything reported out there about a patch is problematic or maybe not, or is this a global issue, or if it's just isolated. And so I was able to you know, uh, learn a lot from that as well. And then, I would share that out again through social media, and came in very valuable for a lot of people. But we now have all of these mechanisms in place in our own resources in Microsoft. This is fantastic.
Yeah, you have the Windows Update handle on Twitter. We also have a Reddit thread for Windows updates that we are also engaging there. So
Yes,
we try to be present where whatever is relevant for the admins to have a dialogue. But it helps to have an official website too. Like even though we go on Twitter and reply and share links,
exactly.
we want to also have the official tools that you can integrate. The customers can integrate for their with their own tools. So uh,
Right.
we need to be many places many times, but yeah, that's we're going to
Yeah.
keep doing it to have our
Yeah.
customers.
It's interesting you mentioned that because, yeah, even though we provide the same information out there as Microsoft FTEs to help the community and IT pros, but they want official
Yeah.
statements. They want to see coming from official resources. So that is very, very important. Yeah, fantastic. I love everything you said, and we're probably gonna come back to you. But Aaron, you're
Yeah.
it now. So, so let's get to this. You're the docs. We're gonna hit on docs here. So, what does the process look like behind the scenes of creating documentation for Windows? Who do you work with, and how do you decide what makes it into docs?
Yeah. In some respects, it's almost easier to say who we don't work with. Windows is such a big organization and such a big product. There's and really organizations singular is not the right word. There are a lot of different groups inside of the company that work on Windows. So it really involves a lot of engineering teams, um, and then folks from support and marketing and so many other groups that all kind of come together. So I think of it in terms of like signal, and where are we getting signals from, and a lot of that comes from engineering in terms of what's coming, um, and what the priorities are, what the strategy is, where's the product going, and where we should invest our time. And we try to treat it also as a product. So content as a product that we also have a limited number of resources, and we can't document everything. So where's our time best spent,
Right.
and are there areas that we should invest more in? There are areas that we should invest less in. Is there content perhaps that we can retire? That's a hard choice to make sometimes, but
Yeah.
in order for us to be able to scale and provide the best level of content that we can in the right areas, sometimes that means retiring some other content. So, but then the process, a lot of it, like I said, is those signals. And so, what information do we have from those different groups in terms of what's the top call volume into support? What are topics that our customer acceleration teams are getting questions about? What are areas of feedback that are coming in? What are issues that come up from release health? Those sorts of things, right? And
Yeah. What's the ask from the field and stuff like that, right?
yeah, exactly, right. So taking all those signals, and oftentimes there's consistencies, right? You hear the same thing from different channels, and that helps understand that, like, oh, okay, that's an area where we need to really invest, and we need to do more content. And then we have different approaches. In some cases, it's do a single page on. For example, there's a 1-page article on the release health
Hmm.
system. And it sounds like maybe in the future we'll need to add some more in terms of how it works with Graph. But in other cases, there's instances where, so for example, Autopilot, we just did a big new set of content for Autopilot with like step-by-step tutorials of how to do each of the different scenarios. And then even took it a little step further and published some content on, hey, what's the end result? What does the user see? What is the technician at the desktop? What do they actually see? And we're working with our video team to actually produce some videos to show, hey, once you do all this how-to, here's what it should look like.
Right. One of the major challenges that people don't understand is the innovations in technology like Windows and Intune and everything else. I mean, it's fast flowing, it's fast moving, and it's changing because we are putting a lot of improvements, a lot of new features. So a doc today could not jive with what's out there 2 weeks from now, that kind of thing. And that's a lot of work, right? A lot of work, a lot of, labor and things like that, and coordination to try to like, how do we get this current and stuff? So it's just,
yeah. And how do we future-proof it, right? Like trying to think about, as we're writing content of, is there a way that we can design basically the content in such a way that like it'll have more legs long term? So it's less of that having to go back and touch it and maintain it. And, oh gosh, this article, maybe it's still valid, but it only refers to Windows 10 or Windows 7 in some cases. It's actually still technically correct for Windows 11 because whatever that technology is hasn't changed, right? But we have to go back and we have to touch that article and we have to make all these revisions. So then as we're working on new stuff, we try to think about that as well. And to your point too about just the rapid state of change. It's a lot of prioritization and approaching things, hey, which one is, if we have to choose, right? And oftentimes we do, where do we invest the time? What's the most value for customers in the big picture?
Right.
And I feel that your team is very, very helpful and very quick, right? When you launch the email feature for the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and you receive feedback like, I'm confused, what admin has access to this? What are the roles? You update in the same day, right? They have 20,000 views, thousands of people enroll in the same day. Like people want to do more. So I think it's very quick when you can measure, right? Like this is our metrics of success of the content being asked and integrated with CSS, where the questions like in the CSS are customer success support team. So I think I have great things to talk about your team. Like I had always a great experience in and how to think about localization too, how we added the content so it can be localized for so many languages, and how you format in a way that also help with accessibility. So I learn a lot every time I say, hey, I have an update, and then I receive back like, oh, we can make this improvement. So it's always a great learning process to work with your team.
I do the same with Aaron. I'll reach out to him. I'm like, and he'll say, yeah, that's not in my jurisdiction, but let me connect you with so and so to get this done. I mean, that's how we collaborate, right?
Yeah, we do get, I find a lot of times we end up being that kind of crossroads because our name is out there on content for a specific topic. So it's very easy for folks to reach out to us and be like, hey, I've got a question about this thing. And we're like, I don't know, but let me put you in touch with someone who does. We try to be as helpful as possible.
And also, like, I know, you've collaborated with Mabel here for Windows Release Health, and there's a doc page for it and stuff like that. But we've also done it for like things like the IT Pro blogs and stuff when we have this feature update releases, right? And you then come up with a one pager for like all things that were included there, kind of a thing, and go learn more here and stuff like that. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's again a lot of that. I think transparency, right? Like, and I was thinking of that as Mabel was talking too, in terms of the release health. Like, I think there's that external transparency that we want to try and be as open with customers as possible in terms of what's going on and what we can share. But I think also internally, right? Like trying to not show the seams of our organizations, and so if we can share information internally, I think ultimately that should help customers as well, because then we're all working off the same page, and it's consistent across the board.
Yeah. So, I want to shift focus here. So we have seen several changes, in the past year and stuff. Specifically, the change from Microsoft Docs to Microsoft Lid, right? And that, I think there was some confusion, and people, IT pros that were, used to Docs and stuff like that. So what was the thought behind that shift?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start by saying there's an entirely separate org that manages the platform itself. And
See, you passed the buck again, Mabel.
It's we're a big company, and a lot of different organizations, but again, trying to be transparent, right? We got notice well before the change, but it was very much a, hey, this is changing. I think the impetus behind it was there's a lot of different pieces that were available for customers to learn about a product, to watch a show, read documentation, take a test, do an assessment, do more of a learning module style where it presents the information in a slightly different way, the questions and answers, so the forums. And so thinking about all of those different pieces as instead of these separate things, really bringing them all together, and like, well, how do customers, where do they go to learn about our products?
Right.
And there might be different ways that they learn about things. And so by bringing that all under that one brand, then can help provide some more consistency across all of those different components. So
right, you need this, go here. You need that, go here, and you
Yeah.
need training, go here, and it's just become kind of cluttered, right? And we've brought everything together now in one space.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of the intent, and certainly with that too, like being able to sign in to learn and create your profile. That then helps kind of keep track of those different things across those different areas. One of the options that's available in Learn is a collection. So you can create a collection, and that you can. It's almost like creating favorites in your browser, I guess, or bookmarks. But because it's stored in your Learn profile, you can connect multiple different things. So you can connect documentation, you can connect the learning modules, shows, and have kind of different collections. And it's also shareable. So I could create a collection of
Autopilot or something like that, right?
Yeah. And not to say that it's going to have all of the stuff, but maybe there's a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and then I could share that, right? So if I was an IT manager at a company, and maybe we're deploying a new service, let's say we're going in on autopilot, well, I could create a collection of a couple different really important things, create that collection, and then share it with my team, and so they all have access to that collection to kind of help them get started with, hey, here's some important things to go and start with. There's a lot more, but it's a good consistent.
Are you limited to sharing within your tenants per se, or is this something you can share externally?
I think it's public with your profile. I don't think it's got all those sort of controls of like, this is only, this one is shared with this group and that one's shared with that group. I think it's just you create the collection and then you give someone the URL. I think it's pretty basic.
So what if I used a work account and then I left that company and whatever, right? I go off to a new company. What do I lose any of those collections?
I don't know.
That's interesting, right?
My sense is yes, because I think it's probably associated with that account. So if you weren't able to sign in with that work account anymore, then you probably wouldn't have it. So
Yeah, I wonder if you can like export it out or something, but maybe someone can let us know, or maybe that's a feature coming. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little more about the collection functionality that I'm familiar with. You're asking the hard questions, Harjit.
And that's a big engineering team that managed like that learn.com experience. I have to work with them to create some customized experience about safeguard hold. So folks clicking on their UI land exactly on the perfect URL and can customize for search. So I know they do a lot like in a way that Aaron's explaining that works for everybody, but also you can customize some solutions and play with colors, formats, UI. So that could be a good team for you to bring how they keep like things structured for the whole, like all the thousands of documents and learning resources, but also how they can customize and move quickly with different teams' needs and different requests from customers.
Awesome. All right, Aaron. The other thing that I want to bring up, or I want to ask you about, is so our docs actually on GitHub now, right? We're
Yeah.
using GitHub. Okay. So how does someone can anyone contribute to this
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's
docs?
the beauty of GitHub, beauty of open source, right? Well, I should say probably like 98% of the docs on Learn are on GitHub. There are some exceptions, um, and there are some instances too where perhaps it's automated content for a REST API or something like that, where it's actually not editable. But most of the content, and you'll know right away, there'll be a little pencil icon up in the upper right corner of the article.
Right.
If you see that, then yeah, you can select that and make an edit to the markdown source that's stored on GitHub.
Okay.
And there's a process involved. So I've heard from some folks who say that like, oh, I don't want to just go change things. It's like, well, you're not. There's a process there. So it is reviewed and approved. And there are some instances where follow up is needed and it can take some time. But some of the content sets we do try to be pretty reactive and responsive. I can't promise that across everything on Learn,
Right.
but most teams try to be pretty responsive to the edits and the feedback that comes in as well.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love getting feedback from customers as well. So encourage everybody to provide feedback and edits. Right, if you see a typo, just fix it. Just submit the edit to change something.
That was my next question. Like, what about requests for documentation or feedback? And if someone doesn't find what they need, how do they let you know or the team know? Um, and same goes for you, Mabel. Like, how can they connect with us?
Yeah, for docs, is really through feedback. And there's two mechanisms right now. The one you might be more familiar with at the bottom of every article is a link for feedback on this page. That actually goes to GitHub and it'll file an issue on GitHub. And it can be specific to, hey, there's something wrong with this article. It can be, hey, I need something more. Something's missing. You should have another article on this other thing. There's another option at the top of the article for feedback, which is a slightly different experience. That's actually things are moving more in that direction, and there'll be a shift in terms of how the feedback is managed and maintained in the future.
Okay.
To the point that actually you may not even need a GitHub account in the future to file feedback
Oh,
on
wow.
docs.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Makes it easier. Yeah.
easier, right? Yeah.
Mabel, what about you?
Same as Aaron was explaining, the one of the Windows Release Health experience is on Microsoft Learn.com that it's called Docs for many years. We have a survey there also once in a year where folks can give feedback where you can improve as well. We have links for Feedback Hub every time folks have a problem with an update or their device, they can submit feedback there that it would triage as well. That's another channel you can submit feedback about our experience with our comms about this issue. And for the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, the Windows Release Health there, we have some feedback buttons like thumbs up, thumbs down, and also you can send a message to support and ask help for whatever you're doing and give feedback on the content in the same way.
Oh, loving it, loving it. I keep forgetting about the thumbs up and thumbs down because that actually gets to the teams pretty quickly and is evaluated. So thank you very much, Mabel and Aaron, for being on the show and for all the valuable information you've shared. I mean, this is really insightful and helpful, right? And for everyone, I've learned something new as well. And yeah, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching Tackling Tech. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something new. Please like and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the latest episodes. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please let us know in the comments below. You can also follow me on Twitter for more updates and awesomeness of Tackling Tech. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.